And you sent a letter to Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick yesterday. You are demanding more information on the company's underwriting of Zijin Gold International's IPO. This is a company that is a subsidiary of Zijin Mining Group, a Chinese mining company. It's on the U.S. government's Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list. I mean, how is it possible that a company that is on the U.S.'s Uyghur entity list is actually being taken public by Morgan Stanley?
Well, Morgan Stanley and their CEO face serious risk here in terms of financial risk, risk to their reputation, regulatory risk, because they are helping provide resources for this entity that's on the forced labor list that have been participating in the genocide, whether it's in Xinjiang, where they have facilities. They're also known for their human rights abuses in Colombia and Serbia, and any just clear evidence that, that they saw it should have been available to tell them that this was not a company they should be affiliated with. So we are requesting documents and understanding what kind of due diligence did they do on this, and how did they overlook the fact that they're providing resources to this entity that promotes slave labor and enabling them to expand that around the world.
I mean, the president has the America First investment policy. We've all read it. We know what the president is trying to do, and yet we can't get bipartisan legislation to prohibit sanctioned and blacklisted companies from China from raising funds, raising money in America, being traded on our capital markets. Our capital markets, the deepest and the most liquid in the world. So, Congressman, I recognize President Trump is taking, a balance here. He's trying not to push China into recession or depression or worse by yanking these companies off of our U.S. markets. But how do we just stand aside and permit American banks and asset managers to actually help these companies raise money by unwitting investors to simply move their Chinese underwriting activities to Hong Kong? That happened with cattle, Hesai, all these IPOs. They're able to raise all this money and fund the expansion of the Chinese Communist Party. Do ordinary investors understand that?
I don't believe they do, and it's time that Wall Street stops funding our demise, and it's time that American investors wake up to this reality. And that's why we're highlighting these things. We want to make people aware of it and have accountability for these investor dollars. I was shocked when I found out that our retirement for the federal government was invested in entities that were affiliated with the Chinese military-industrial complex. That's just wrong. And so now we're discontinuing some of these things, but it's a case-by-case basis, and we need Wall Street to wake up to this fact. And I think the only way they're going to do it is if they hear from investors. We don't want to fund entities affiliated with slave labor, and we don't want to help the Chinese military-industrial complex, because that can be used against our men and women in the armed forces.